Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Spiritual Psychic TV and this show, Being Spiritual, with me, your host, Ashley Robinson, and producer Richard in the studio, and my very special guest this evening, Helen Rogerson. It's lovely to be back with you folks this evening. And for want of a better word, strange times. We'll talk a little bit about this period in history, this exciting but sad chapter in history, particularly for those of you joining me in the UK today. And later on, so we'll say a bit more about that and just take a moment to celebrate the life of someone pretty incredible. But it's wonderful to be back online with Spiritual Psychic TV. This is Being Spiritual. It's a spiritualist philosophy show tonight. Good evening to you, Helen. Thanks for coming on board and joining us this evening.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be with you all. Thank you.
Oh,
Hi.
Great. really good to have you here. And this evening, folks, we're going to be chatting, as we always are, about spiritualist philosophy. But in particular, there's going to be a real focus on art, in particular, channeled art and channeled art mediumship. Really delighted that Helen has joined us. There's the opportunity, folks, for those of you who've never been on before, to ask us questions. You can ask me and Helen almost anything reasonable. But spiritual questions, you're going to get the opportunity to interrogate both of us. So we're really keen to take your questions. And then later, towards the end of the show, we're going to be doing some readings, some psychic readings, some spiritualist mediumship, some channeled art mediumship. So we're really looking forward to you engaging with us. If you are joining us on YouTube tonight and you want to participate in the show, just make sure you've logged in with a YouTube account. They're absolutely free. And you want to participate in the live chat. All you need to do is post your comments there. They'll come straight into the studio. And on Facebook, hopefully you're watching the stream direct with Spiritual Psychic TV. Make sure you've clicked on your notifications and it lets you know every single time we go live, folks. But there's the opportunity there to participate in the chat. So make sure you're commenting on the live stream off the Spiritual Psychic TV UK page, and we will pick up your comments. Now, every now and then there are some strange gremlins and algorithms, particularly with Facebook, so we don't always see everything. But be assured, we are never ignoring you. So if you feel you've said something and we've not mentioned it for whatever reason, then just say it again and say it nicely. I promise you we're not ignoring you, but every now and then we don't always see your comments. Now, as a good test of that, one of the things you can do for us is help us build our community. As you know, Spiritual Psychic TV UK has an ambition to bring spiritual people together. And in doing so, we want to give these platforms for philosophy, for readings, for mediumship, and we want to keep it absolutely 100% for free for you. And there's a number of ways that you can support us. You can, of course, pay to join and be a very important patron. There are details on that on SPTV UK. But one of the real simple free things you can do for us, folks, is give us a like, show us your love, and give us your hearts and your thumbs up on Facebook, and share the stream. Help us build this community. If you're on YouTube, just right click or left click on that right forward arrow and share the stream. You can share it across all of your social media channels. You can even send it on WhatsApp from your friends. If you're part of spiritual and psychic chats groups, then send them this link. Let them know you're participating in a live chat to know. On Facebook, just click share. You can share it with groups, as long as you've got permission to do that with your admins. You can share it on your own page. Tell people you're participating in the show tonight. See if any of your friends want to come and join you. I'm doing exactly that now. I've just shared the stream. That's it. One quick click on Facebook. And by building that community, folks, it helps us reach more people. And one of my ambitions is to share my knowledge of life after that change we call death, my knowledge of spiritualism, the truths of spiritualism. We want to be able to share that with people. And in terms of doing the mediumship, we want to be able to give you wonderful people some evidence of life after that change we call death. So thanks again for joining us. We said we're going to do a little test to make sure you're all with us and you're participating. So on Facebook and YouTube, just comment, say hello and good evening. Let us know where you're watching the show from tonight. If it's your first time this evening watching Spiritual Psychic TV, then let us know that too. We know that Claire Colbeck on YouTube is joining us. Good evening, Richard, Ashley, and everyone online. Hiya, Claire. And I'll let Helen do the next hello.
Hello, we got Julie Caswell, who says, good evening, everyone. Hello, hello. Beautiful little cat picture there.
And Mary Dixie, one of my last circle leaders there, says good evening to us all. Hiya, Mary. I'll let you go again.
Christine Davis. Christine Davis, good evening all. Hello to you too. Hi, Christine.
Hiya, June. Lovely June Malcolm from Woodburn Church.
Natalie Bentley says evening to you.
And Tony Wright on YouTube, good evening.
And we got Nadia Aptia. So I probably have said that wrong. Sorry, Nadia, but hello, hello, hello.
I usually make lots of apologies about some of the pronunciations. But
Yeah, so
Dawny joining us, saying hello to everybody. Hiya, Dawny.
got Kerry Farmer sharing a good evening. Definitely sharing that back.
And Sylvia Freeston, hello. I'm glad you're looking forward to it, Sylvia.
And Nicola Humphreys. Hi, Nicola. Another lovely cat picture.
Maureen Bracken joins us from Dublin, Ireland this evening. Good evening, Maureen.
And Ray Robinson. Good
That's my
evening to
dad.
Ashley and Helen and Richard. Ah!
You always forget it's my mum, but
Hi,
my mum
Dad.
always tells me she was definitely there too. Hi, Sharon. Good evening to you.
Got Melanie Wellens. Hello, Melanie. Hi.
The lovely Leslie Moulton, Reverend Leslie Moulton, my spiritual counsellor trainer. And I just found out that I've completed and passed my spiritual counselling course with United Spiritualists. So thank you for all my investment.
Very cool. And June Macklin.
Joanne Lewis,
says hi.
Facebook. Hiya, Joanne.
Sharon Leach, big heart back to you.
Hi, Paula. Paula Whitehead joining us on Facebook.
Lizzie Busy Bright. I love that. Hi, brightness to you.
And Izzy Ryan says hello to Helen Richard and all the lovelies in the chat. Hiya, Izzy. Okay, I think we've got round to most of you. If we haven't specifically mentioned your name, as I say, it may have been that your comment didn't come up. It may have been that we just, otherwise we'd be here for half an hour saying hello to everybody. I know we have several hundred on Facebook watching us, and up to 100 on YouTube at any one time. So apologies if we haven't specifically mentioned your name. Now, as people were commenting, we did see a nice variety of cats and cat pictures. The other thing we saw a lot of this evening was pictures of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. And I think most of you will be aware, certainly those in the UK and in the Commonwealth countries, that Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II passed to the spirit world last night. And she is now going through that change that we refer to as death. She was often referred to as the protector of the faith. In the UK, and in King Charles III's opening sort of remarks and speech today, he spoke about the many faiths and how he wants to communicate and engage with us all. And I think that for me, being British, I'm generally a big fan of the royal family. I think they do add a lot of value, but we're not going to invite people to have sort of any political comments, because at the heart of it, we had a leader there. And you can't make people follow you. Followers choose leaders, and there were millions of people all over the world that chose to follow Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. She was also a great grandmother, a mother, a sister, a cousin, and her family are missing that physical presence. And as spiritualists, obviously we're pleased that she has made that transition. She is out of pain, any physical pain in the body, and we will believe that she is reuniting with her husband and the family, and of course all those wonderful animals that she has shown unconditional love to throughout that time. But this evening, on the 9th of September, it is certainly one of those milestones in history. The vast majority of people alive in the world today would have only known one royal family leader in the Queen of England. You'd have to be over 70 years of old to have been aware of sort of any other difference. So it's certainly the end of one era and chapter as we transition into a new chapter with King Charles. And I just wanted to take a moment, because I know there are mixed feelings out there, but there's a lot of emotion. And as we come together this evening, we have a moment just to take 30-40 seconds silence and just send some love, some light, some healing and condolences to all those people in need of that, to help them with whatever they're going through at the moment, and just in memory on celebration of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Mother, Father God, we ask that as Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II joins you in the spirit world, that you continue to watch over her family, her country, her Commonwealth, and people all over the world. May you send them that lovely spiritual healing and keep them warm. We as spiritualists believe in that life after life. This evening, we ask our spirit friends to come close, to give us evidence of continuing life after that change we call death. Amen. Thank you. And thank you, folks. It's not great live TV to have a moment of silence. And one of the things we said is that we wanted to do that tonight. We thought it was the right thing to do. And thank you for people keeping quiet in the comments box as well. And for no one that arrived late and suddenly thought, why is there nothing happening? We do appreciate it. And we're still going to try and work in an uplifting way, in a respectful and uplifting way this evening, because I think there's enough misery in the world already. I do believe a great leader has been lost. We've got a great leader emerging that's prepared most of his life for this moment. Let's give him the opportunity to do that. Lots of changes all over the world, including the UK, with changes within government too. But it's about the now. It's about the experience. And it's about experiencing things that make us happy, ultimately, with people that make us happy. And, you know, that's at the very forefront of all of my sort of principles. And tonight we're going to talk about mediumship. We're going to talk about channeled art, mediumship in particular. And I'm absolutely delighted that Helen has come to join us this evening. And Helen, you've been on Spiritual Psychics TV before.
Yeah, I was brought on for a little trial with the VIPs. So yeah, I did that and I really enjoyed it. It was wonderful.
And I enjoyed watching, and we then met in the flesh at one of the SPTV Mind, Body and Soul festivals down on the south coast near Portsmouth. You had a stall at that Mind, Body and Soul fair. What sort of things were you doing that day?
Well, I sort of had the two sections really. I had the channeled art at one end of the table, offering that for people one-to-one, and then I had I make a lot of my own herbal. I infuse oils and make really healing skin salves and stuff for muscles and joints, and also herbal teas and cacao, which is raw chocolate, so sort of wellness, health products that I make myself, and yeah. So that's what I was doing.
And we had a good chat. One of the things that Richard does exactly what he says on the tin, which is bring spiritual people together. We've seen that at spiritual psychic weekends and awards ceremonies, and the Mind, Body and Soul Fair gave this opportunity for fans and presenters to get together, as well as the local people down in Portsmouth. So I was really pleased to see you there. I think Sacred Offerings is the is the sort of the umbrella term for all the bits and pieces you do. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. My website is Sacred Offering Art, all one word, and yeah, that's .co.uk.
Yeah, the three words that sort of stand out as headlines there: nature, art, and health, as a big part of that. That's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I feel that they're super important in my life, and want to share that with other people. Yeah, and connect them to that. Yeah,
I think a lot of people this evening would agree they're probably big parts of their life, sort of too. We had a good catch up at the fair, and we had a sort of a bit of a chat. And I said that I'd love the opportunity to do a bit of old-fashioned horse trading, a bit of energy exchange, and would I be able to read for you one time? And you had offered to do me a drawing, which I'm going to show people. I have it next to my computer, so I'm just going to hold it up. I have to have it close enough.
Yeah, I can't remember it.
Yeah. There we go. This is what you sent to me in the post afterwards, and on the back you wrote down some lovely things as well, and within that you spoke about gifts. On the show, we talk about spiritual gifts quite a bit and how people can work with spiritual gifts. One of the things you said at the very top, which put a lovely smile on the face, is one of my gifts is positivity and how I can sort of use that. And I've always had feedback that sometimes my enthusiasm or my energy of positivity can be contagious, but I'd never thought about it as a gift. But I love the way that you'd sort of put that, and the fact it is a gift. And for those of us that are able to sort of work with gifts, is to be blessed that they're there and recognise it is there, and then what we can do, because you went on to say that this can lead to freedom. And I thought that was really important, because I talk a lot about trying to be at your best, be at your best more of the time, because of course if you're at your best all of your time, that's your routine. It's not your best. Your best is when you're hitting that mark. But being authentic, I think, is really important, and being able to bring all of you, be that to work, to your family life, to your spiritual work. And it was one of the things that sort of struck me. So I was really pleased that you had picked up on that. Thank you.
Oh, you're really welcome. It's lovely to hear back, because the ones that I do where I just take someone's name and address, I don't always, that's gone, and so it's really nice to have that feedback. Thank you.
The other thing is, and I say I've got it next to my computer, not just tonight. I've had it next to my computer, so I see it sort of, nice. Traditionally 9 to 10 hours during the working day, as well as then when I'm doing my spiritual stuff. And it's one of those pieces of art that I continue to see like new things in it. One of the first thing that jumped out to me was that, and when I first looked at it, I saw what was the picture of a female energy, a sort of a humanoid looking. And the more I look at her, I think that actually she reminds me of more of almost like a fairy. And I've always spoke about the possibility of other realms and sort of dimensions, kingdoms, sort of fairy kingdoms. And she stands out. But actually, she's not really the focus of the picture, because she's looking down at an animal. There are animals in the background, and then when you look at the animals, it's a bit like one of those magical pieces of art. Sorry, Richard. Yeah, I'm just going to show the picture again. There, I think. Is that right? There we go. You see the animals within the animals. There we go. Does it have to be near my face because of the blur? Okay. Try and get it right. I might have to fiddle around with my camera in a minute, folks, because I'm messing things up. I often have it on blur because I've got a busy family with 3 young kids, and my house always looks like something has just exploded. It's usually one of my kids sort of playing with something or doing something else. But I'll bring this image up again in a moment when I change the camera angle, because I say it's one of those things. I just keep seeing more and more to it. There's the animals within the people, and then there's the humanoids that look less and less sort of human. Within that, there's then features of perhaps animals or other beings, things that I might describe as an eyeball, or certainly an eye. Is it a mind's eye? Is it a third eye, sort of a pineal gland and things like that? Right. I've now turned off my blur, so you're going to see how messy my room is.
Keep the picture up. Keep the picture up.
Hopefully, be dominated by the picture. The other thing that I like with this is it's drawn in layers. Now, I'm going to get you to tell us how you draw it, because I'm a layman when it comes to sort of art, but it for me it feels a bit like an onion in terms of layers, because I can see underneath the dark black lines are sort of finer lines, almost with a pencil of some sort. But it's not that the lines have just been reinforced. It reminded me almost like skin. And as you really look into the detail, you can sort of more of that. So I wondered if you could tell the people at home, when you do a piece of art like this, what is it you sit down with? You just sit down with an image? Do you do this automatically? What sort of goes through your mind? And you can talk a little bit about this if you want.
Sure. It's quite different depending on whether I do it on my own or I'm doing it live with someone. So I'm getting different. It just works a bit differently. So usually when I'm doing it live, I'm drawing and then messages are coming through, sometimes images. They're not necessarily wanting me to draw that image, but that's part of like what I'm meant to talk about. So I kind of work in that way. When I do it like I did for you, I'm literally, I just take a moment and I tune in and work with my guides to connect to what your guides and what's important for you to know, what's supportive for you right now. So yeah, that's quite different. So when I'm just sending it to you and doing it, so I'm just doing the picture, and then afterwards I'm just tuning in and writing, making sure I've got all the messages I need. But yeah, so you can see that they're 2 different things. I've actually I did one just before we were starting and just finishing it as we were talking, so people can have a look at that. Sometimes I do it in pencil. Can everyone see that? Yeah. Is that good?
Yeah, looks good.
So sometimes I do it in pencil and then pen, or sometimes I just work straight into pen. and some of them I fill with colour, but I do a lot with watercolour as well. But
it's beautiful.
it
reminds me of a tree,
yeah.
actually. I know there's lots of detail within
Yeah.
the tree, but almost like an island of a sort of tree there.
Can you see the octopus?
Yes, I can now.
Near the bottom. He felt very important. He really wanted to come out in that.
Yeah. And you know, the beauty of the sort of type of art is that there are these layers to it. There are this meaning and things to come together. And as you say, you started with a blank piece of paper this evening. Do you think that was you know, a matter of your guide sort of coming through today and expressing himself? Do you think that might have been a drawing for you or for someone watching this evening?
No, I think this was very much just the energy right now and connecting to everyone and what we're doing. Yeah, it felt really felt very beautiful. It felt like a real surge of energy. Like what the words that came in were kind of carving. What are we carving in our lives right now, and how do we connect to our joy and let that follow us? And what you said about the connecting to our truth and really speaking from there,
being authentic,
and like, how do we carve our way with that? So yeah,
absolutely.
That was what was coming through.
When I've described sort of the way I work as a medium to people, I've spoke about the various levels of training that I went through. So I sat in a circle when I was 18, and one of the things that people like Mary Dixie will say were probably quite painful with me was trying to get me to sit down and just calm down the mind and the body and try and take me on some sort of guided meditation. Have you sort of meditated in order to start developing?
Absolutely. I've been on a real journey with that, actually. My grandmother's a healer, she's passed over now, but she like it was a really important part of my journey, and I've always like had the hands thing. I want to put my hands on someone. Even as a kid, people used to come to me. So I've always had that and in my life. And then I've just developed through meditation and through working with some friends who are mediums, and I've sort of developed and connected more with spirit so that I'm held in that way and understand it more, and it's more grounded. So yeah.
One of the things I've said as a medium when I'm delivering mediumship, even now, and I mean I'm 40 this year. If anyone wants to send me a birthday card at the end of the month, the big 40, but being brought up within spiritualism to sort of spiritualist parents and ministers, a lot of my development was more like natural progression, sort of growing up and just being encouraged to sort of do things. But even right up to now, I'm trying to understand the difference between things that might be part of my creativity or my imagination, or something which is more vivid and being placed within my mind's eye as from spirit. Now, and one of the things I used on the show a little while ago is I spoke about the mind's eye almost being like a blank canvas. And for me, I blank the canvas. I try and get rid of the shopping list and all the other jobs I've promised my wife and kids I'm going to do. And when I eventually achieve that calmness, that's when spirit starts to give me the vivid sort of clues that I then play spiritualist bingo with to try and give evidence to people. What I wondered with you, because I use the analogies of art and canvas and them drawing within my mind, is whether or not it's similar for you, or whether or not you could sort of describe the difference between your creativity as an artist and you drawing your own stuff, or when you feel a bit more inspired or channeled, and how you tell the difference.
Good question. Yeah. I guess because I'm an artist, I think I had I was a healer, an artist, and it was over lockdown that this technique came where I was sort of combining both. And I'm very visual, so when I meditate, which I try and do at least half an hour a day. If I can do more, I do. And I definitely, if I can be by water out in the trees, then I'm very happy. But I see a lot. I'd go on I see a lot of visions, and I do a lot with the drumming journeys. I found that someone that I work with who did that, and I just completely connected to that. And when she took me down into these journeys with the drum, I used to get like amazing journeys and lots of images. So, and that's actually how I started this technique, is that I was meditating, and then an image would come, I'd be like, okay, let's draw that. And then I started getting this pain in my left side, and I sort of worked with that and was like, because I always find that if I get any pain in the body, it's sort of communicating in some way. especially when it was what I was doing. Because I was a bit like, why am I getting paid? I'm loving, I'm doing something really creative. And then they were like, no, you just, and they would like use your less dominant hand, start like that. And it was a real journey into trusting, and not trying to make it look pretty, not trying to, so when I first started, it was very scribbly. But it was such a delight to find, to connect the two, combine the two. Yeah, it was really exciting, but it was a real journey into trusting, and just, because at first it was just the pictures, and then, as I trusted and went with it, then more messages came in as well.
Oh, that's lovely. Have you sat in any particular circle, or prescribed to sort of any particular sort of style of developing this?
I mean, have I? To be honest,
Yeah, you
I've sort of
individually.
looked at it. Yeah, and me individually. To be honest, it's just, I feel like they're telling me.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I know everything, because I don't. But I feel like at the moment, and I think if something came up, that they guide me towards it, and I would definitely do that. But I'll tell you one way that I do learn, and it's amazing, is I go into certain women's groups. And if they're chanting and singing, usually it's outside in nature, and I will sit in the middle and just draw, and that just feels really sacred, like really beautiful. And usually I do an image at the end. They're like, we were all seeing that image. That's amazing. So is that really connecting to the collective, consciousness, and it's a magical thing to behold.
Definitely. And ultimately, I believe that we're working with energy, and I believe that the energy we get from other beings, from other worlds, from other dimensions, from spirit world in particular, is an energy which doesn't pick on the chosen few. It's an energy that almost anyone can work with, and actually the way that we act as the medium is because we are an individual being, and it's our experiences, and it's our life, it's then our talents which the spirit can use in different ways. What are your sort of thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think everyone can, and that's one of the things when I do with the coaching and I work with people. It's not, I for me, it's just people getting in touch with their inner wisdom, connecting to their hearts and their truths more, and just helping them just with tools around that. But really, it's like we've got it all inside us, all the wisdom, and it's like, how do we connect to that?
Yeah, I think that the more I think about pure sort of individual creativity versus sort of inspired, that the lines become more and more blurred. So I'm a self-confessed sci-fi geek, and I've spoken on the show, I've admitted it before, and I'm into my sort of Star Treks and my Star Wars and Stargate, anything with the word star in. I think I've genuinely enjoyed, because to me it's a little bit of fantasy. I often like the technology sort of side of it, but I talk a lot to my parents, who are both Trekkies, about I think his name is Gene Roddenberry, who wrote the sort of the Star Trek stories. And I think how much of that potentially could have been inspired to them at the start, how much of that was a seed about actually the rest of the universe, where perhaps these federations of planets and other things are in existence, and how much of it is them sort of totally drawing it up, or how much of it is even from either a past experience or experience as a sort of another being. So I often ask myself more questions than I come up with answers, but I think that perhaps that the lines are more defined. Perhaps they are blurry.
It's interesting you say that, because I've been really, I think, they talk about the star seeds, and there's different, like the Arcturians and the Palladium. I'm mentioning them because I definitely was going out and meditating and having these like quite interesting, like definitely from other universes, galaxies. It felt like definitely, channeling with that. And so I feel definitely that some of us are connected to that. And there was a YouTube channel, really, it's called the Palladium, I can't remember, the truth or something like that, but it's so beautiful. And I listened to it the other night, and I was like, oh, and it was just all about coming from love, like really, that if there are darker energies, it's like you don't, it's like, how do you remember humans? That's not us. It's like, how do we remember our sort of the sort of DNA, our real DNA, the code like that of who we really are, which is love, you know.
Yeah.
And it was just really affirming. It was just like, there's people out there, and it's like, if there's other galaxies or whatever, or but it's, you know, just operating from love. It's just so important.
And you hear that phrase about how powerful unconditional love is, and how you show love through service or deeds. And you've got thousands of years of human history where, you know, religions have tried to have a go of it. You know, I describe myself as a spiritualist medium. It's a label that I'm very happy to sort of, but it is a label. It's a humanoid condition to want to sort of label it and group. Even when I work with my own guides, not a single one of them has turned around and said, "You're in the right club, Ash. Definitely spiritualism is the only thing." Yeah. In fact, so many of my favourite spiritualist philosophers and some of the guides that were channeled, you know, through trance mediumship, often Silver Birch, you know, being one of them, often spoke about the fact that religion wasn't needed. It was this human condition to want to sort of compartmentalize it all and stick it under an umbrella. But even spiritualism is not necessarily needed as a religion or a volume of sacred law. It's about the way we live our lives. It's the deeds we do. It's about that knowledge. So I think that is really powerful. And, you know, what a different place really the world may be without any of those labels. I mean, so many ill-excused wars off the back of religion and greed, you know, in our sort of human history. But perhaps we're moving to a point where people are more comfortable in either merging labels or bringing them together. You know, I've spoke on this show about the fact that, you know, my three boys I've had with my wife, who's got Irish sort of Catholic background. She would describe herself as a Catholic. She was baptized as a Catholic. She took her communion as a Catholic. Within the last 7 years, she studied to be a spiritual healer within United Spiritualists, but she still considers herself a Catholic because she's happy with that label. Now, with our boys going to a Catholic primary school, we describe them in the census. One as a spiritualist Catholic, the other one as a Catholic spiritualist. And Oscar is going to have his spiritualist naming service on Sunday at Wimbledon Spiritualist Church. We're actually going to broadcast a service. So it's something I'm so proud about to celebrate my religion. We're going to go live, folks. So if you're not doing anything Sunday morning, 11:45, tune in to Spiritual Psychics TV. You're going to see a spiritualist naming service of my son Oscar. Now, what you won't see offline is that 2 miles up the road, we're then going to the Catholic church, and we're going to have a Catholic baptism. And we're going to try and include, you know, both elements of faith. And you know, from a sort of a preaching point of view, I probably do more philosophy, religious philosophy at home, and I tend to lead on the religious education, which makes for wonderful conversations with my boys' RE teachers who are in a Catholic primary school. But there's nothing my boys will say that's incompatible with Catholicism, because their foundations are around that love, around looking out for each other, around doing the right thing, around showing sort of moral courage. And actually, almost every major religion has those little nuggets, don't they, at the foundations? They've all got perhaps a piece of the map, this wonderful map. We're all in pursuit of, you know, utopia. We've all got that little bit of the map. And, you know, some of us can articulate it in words, some of us can draw it, some of us get colours and different things sort of in between. I think it's an amazing way. It just shows the power of that energy, which I call spirit, in the way that they will sort of try and influence us. One of the things I wanted to just go off on a slight tangent for a while, but just because a couple of the things we've both said about beings in existence. Right? So, traditional Christianity, which my boys will be taught apart their Catholic school, sort of talks about, you know, one God, one sort of Holy Spirit, you know, the one church and heaven for all the human beings that sort of go to afterwards. As a spiritualist, I'm very aware that energy is everything. So everything that I'm aware of existence for me is energy. And therefore, that energy can't be destroyed. The energy's got to go somewhere. The energy at a crudest level is an atom. The atom in itself is a level of intelligence. And therefore, perhaps you could argue that, you know, a rock might not be a conscious rock. But for me, it's consciousness within the energy, the intelligence that's within it. In which case, if there is a life after the life in this 3D existence we call, you know, being and this human experience, for me, there is a life for everything in this life after the changes that we call death, that transition, those changing. And therefore, the spirit world is not limited to the human and the 3D experience in the same way that spirit beings probably come down to Earth to be a human being for the physical experience, in the same way we can have different experiences sort of elsewhere. And I spoke at the beginning of your drawing about the animals. We spoke about art, nature, and health. We also spoke about the other potential sort of kingdoms and realms. We touched on a little bit of sci-fi. We mentioned some beings which some people refer to as either as ancient aliens, or aliens actually aren't ancient, just a knowledge of them is ancient and transition. So I wanted to just summarize that up a little bit more and just get some of your opinions on some of those things, other realities, dimensions. We dedicated an entire show to what was heaven and what was God, and the ultimate answer was it was the sum particle of all the energy. But I thought we could pause for a moment. It'd be nice to get your opinions on just some of those. You don't have to go particularly deep, and there's no trick questions, and there's no wrong answer. But I think I would love to hear it, and I'm sure the people at home would too. Oh, you still there, Helen?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't know.
That's right. So yeah, what are your thoughts on it all? What is the meaning of the universe?
Wow. I think what you said really resonated about the energy, and just energy is part of that. Something that they said, actually, and I hadn't, because this whole thing about karma and all that stuff on that channel that I was telling you about, the Palladium channel, Star Seeds, they talked about that. Sometimes you don't know until you sort of hear something and you're like, oh yeah, that actually really resonates. And they talked about how people, it's not to do with karma, and they described it how people choose, the soul or whatever chooses, it says, right, I'm going to go, and that is going to happen. But sometimes it comes, and it like they talked about Hitler, how a lot of awful things that he did, it's very dark, very kind of, they say, evil, or not negative. And they said, but what happens is the balance, it readjusts. So the light workers, the light has to come up more, and that's almost like what they were describing, what's happening in the world with this a lot of dark, and it's like, but there's a massive shift happening. And I was just like, and it just really made sense to me. It's just like, that's how I feel.
Yeah,
I kind of write a lot about it. Yeah. So that whole thing about karma, and I kind of understood it, and it is that thing of negative attracts negative and positive attracts positive. But it was very interesting, and
birds of a
how it
feather flock
resonated
together.
Yeah, exactly.
And you mentioned the Palladians. There was a show which Richard produced on this channel called The Origins of the Ancients. I don't know if you ever watched any of that. With Gita and Kate. You'd have to remind me of Kate's last name, Richard. But they spoke about star seeds and Palladians, and they spoke about choosing this existence and experience as a being. And there's a beautiful video which Birgitta had shared from YouTube of what looks like two sort of humanoid adolescent sort of teenage girls, and they're telepathically communicating with each other. And the story is them sort of almost sitting in that place that I would call heaven. And one of the girls is saying to her friend, I'm going to have to go down to Earth. And she's like, well, why would you want to go there? It's such a cruel place. And she's like, well, my friends and family are down there, and they're learning and they're training, and I want to go there to help them. And it was so beautifully done in a sort of couple of minutes, and almost around this sort of thing of, we might struggle sometimes as human beings to understand why we would choose anything other than an easy life, but perhaps that we did as one of our first experiences on here, and perhaps we then come back and we start to choose different experiences for different impact. And I love what you said there about Hitler. We often pop up when we talk with, I believe in the concept of reincarnation, and we did a show dedicated to karma. People talk about Hitler, and I said, well, when Hitler died and he took his own life, or relatively took his own life, he still went to the afterlife. Now, was he within a prison of his own making? Was he being judged by his higher self? Was he taken off by black ghouls into dungeons of sort of hell where he had to work off or his karma? Or was there an element of that experience having some positivity that come out of it? And there was a spiritualist ambassador called Zodiac, the teachers of Zodiac, and I think it was Winifred Moyes, my dad will have to correct me, who founded the Greater World sort of Christian Spiritualist Association. During the Second World War, Zodiac spoke about the fact that Hitler almost needed to exist for humanity to unite against not the Nazis, but the evil behind that sort of Nazi regime, and how that experience would make us a better civilization.
Make us stronger. Yeah.
What'd you say, Richard? Yeah, and pushing on the technology, and obviously for a while humans were going in a technology race along the lines of weapons of mass destruction, because they were trying to stop Second World War. And I just want to mention it briefly, because actually, Helen, it's something your husband and I spoke about. I don't know if you even know, but it's about nuclear weapons. Now, the reason I mention this is I've been off with my kids over the summer holidays. I took them down to Portsmouth, and I took them to the D-Day Museum. And we went and did the experience. It's an incredible immersive experience, actually. It's an amazing thing to do. I remember doing it as a kid with my granddad. But one of the things that my kids have obviously heard on, it was computer games or YouTube, was nukes. So every time they saw a missile or rocket, they kept using this word, or there's a nuke this and nuke that. And I took them to one side and tried to say, well, potentially it was actually quite an insensitive thing to talk about. And I thought, well, he's only 7, my oldest, and my youngest, that was 4. But I was trying to explain to him how many thousands of people died in Japan as a result of us using nuclear weapons. And that was just the first couple of experiments. The potential of the nuclear power now could destroy the world several times over. And that was actually when my kids said, we've been talking about World War III at school and the conflict with Ukraine and Russia, and is there going to be a World War III? He's got lots of Eastern European kids in his class. In fact, he's got 2 Ukrainian refugees as well. And he hadn't mentioned it at all. But as soon as we started having this sort of conversation about nuclear technology. Now, the reason I mention this and the mention about the beings is when I spoke to your partner about
Neil,
this. I said that, when you look at Ministry of Defence reports in the UK about unidentified aerial phenomenon, there was a guy called Nick Pope, who was a civil servant, worked for the Ministry of Defence and is now retired. And he now often appears on the History Channel with their ancient aliens, and they talk about MOD classified. But so many of the RAF and USA joint bases, particularly where there may or may not have been certainly intergalactic ballistic missiles, maybe nuclear weapons, where they'd seen this unidentified aerial phenomenon. And I'd said to your partner, at least as human beings, we've evolved to the point that no one has used a nuke since the Second World War. And one of the little theories he planted was that perhaps a more superior enlightened energy or intelligence has stopped us from using them again, having seen the pathway of destruction we were going on, which goes back to the point that Richard was making. And maybe that has then steered us. Maybe Japan at the end of the Second World War had to sort of happen in order to put us back on a pathway again. So sorry for the long-winded rant in the context of that, the D-Day Museum and talking to your partner, but what you spoke about resonated with me. Anything else you wanted to add to that?
I think I feel that's definitely a good version of what it's definitely they're looking down, and I think that's part of spirit and whoever the other worlds. I think there's that what we were talking about, operating from love and protection, and that's got to be there, because I think we wouldn't have a world if it wasn't. And how some people are.
Legend has it that the Atlanteans, as an ancient civilization, came to the point of destroying themselves, and before the Atlanteans, we had the Lemurians and other ancient civilizations. Did they misuse crystals or other sorts of technology and sort of weapons? And perhaps they did. And perhaps as this sort of human experience now that we're listening, now we're more aware of the guide force that exists. But I love the idea, if there are a superior intelligence to us out there, that they're not the Stephen Hawking's version of they're probably going to kill us if they're superior to us, because that's what we do to people inferior to us. Actually, they will try and keep us alive for that experience.
Yeah. And I think it's just like willing us to connect to who we really are and not follow these the darker entities or that are leading us, and the false narrative, I really feel that.
And I promised to get your partner on the show as well, with Richard's permission. Perhaps we'll have it as more of a round table, Richard. Maybe even you'll join us for that conversation. We'll dig out some of the origins of the ancient footage as well. We'll make it like anything's on offer type conversation.
You'd love that. You'd have a great chat.
Richard, you join us for that virtual coffee, I hope. There we go. There, folks. We got Richard's commitment. Did you say it's time for adverts? Okay, so yeah, it is indeed 8:45. So, folks, we're going to take a couple of minutes for some adverts. When we come back, we're going to take your questions, and then we're going to do some experimental readings. Helen and I are going to try for collective consciousness as well. But at the very least, you're going to get some psychic readings, some spiritualist mediumship, and you're going to get some channeled art. So, get your questions ready, fire them in, and sit back and enjoy the adverts.
Are you planning a paid spiritual event, or looking for something to do this weekend? Then visit myspiritualevents.com. You can browse the listing, view the event details, watch a YouTube clip, look at a mini gallery, select dates and times, pay for tickets using PayPal or your debit card. Organizers can register for free and start selling tickets within minutes, be it for their online or in-person spiritual event. As an organizer, you will have access to your own admin dashboard, which will display information such as your income and your bookings, all in a simple and user-friendly display. It's free to use. Join and upgrade to an organizer. Come and visit us at myspiritualevents.com.
My Spirit Life is a free online interactive magazine for those who have an interest in improving their spiritual lives. Authors can upload images, videos, and audio clips to their own articles. The public can place comments, rate the article, and follow the author. All articles are vetted before being published. For more information and to place your own article, please visit myspiritlife.co.uk. Tomorrow night from 8 p.m, SPTV is joined by another guest who will be demonstrating their mediumship abilities by offering free readings to our viewers.
Hi, folks. Welcome back, and thank you for paying attention to the adverts. So many wonderful things across this channel. Every day of the week, all sorts of different times. But we're having a lovely time. I hope you're having a lovely time. I love chatting here with Helen and Richard. The beauty of SPTV is sometimes it generally feels like old friends or new friends getting together and having a chat without any sort of fear. One of the things we've always tried to do on SPTV is create a really sort of psychologically safe environment where you've got no fear of asking silly questions or difficult questions. You've got a safe space to even look silly. And I love the fact that people can share their opinions openly. Unfortunately, we're surrounded by people that are generally working in light and love, and their opinions are nice opinions, as opposed to some of the riffraff that's out there in the world. Now, some of you have already started to put in a couple of questions. One of the first questions that came in a little while ago was about timing, and it was about sort of how long it takes to things. Now, 2 weeks ago, when I had my cousin on that was just starting off on her journey as both an artist and a spiritual work, we did a little experiment where we all, in our mind's eye, drew a picture of a house. And Helen, I was saying to people, imagine it's got a roof, imagine it's got windows. I didn't give a huge amount of detail, and it was interesting to see what interpretations people had of the art. But the point I was sort of trying to make is, as an artist, we could probably all pick up a pen or a crayon or a pencil and draw a house. Some of us will be like graphic designers, and you could pass this off to the architect's office. Then there'd be people like me, and you can't tell whether or not it was my 7-year-old, 4-year-old, or me that did the drawing. But the creativity is there. The more you practice, I guess, and the more you take on your own sort of craft, the better perhaps you could become as an artist. And therefore, with your spirituality, it was knowing on what you were trying to do. Were you trying to trace something, copy something, or be sort of automatic? But Margaret Bennett had said, "How long does it take you to draw it?" So I don't think she really cared too much for my house. I think that the drawing that you'd probably shown is, what is your sort of time that you take to do those?
It really depends. So I was at a festival recently, and we had sort of one gazebo as a shot and one where I was doing the channel artwork, and people would come in and they'd sit at the table with me, and then I draw and do it. I'd usually say anything from half an hour to 40 minutes if I'm to do the messages and the drawing. Some of them were really simple. They'd be just like boom, 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 like really. And then some of them are much more elaborate. It just depends. So yeah, usually it could be like anything from 20 minutes to sort of 40 minutes or 45 minutes, usually.
And
But yeah, it's hard.
You're what I would describe as a talented artist as well. You're not just scribbling on the on paper in the same way that I would scribble on paper. You are producing pieces of art in terms of what you're doing. If you were doing something different, like if I just said to you, "Can you draw me a picture of a house?" and I gave you that description, would it take you the same sort of time to do that drawing that's not being channeled?
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, I don't know whether it depends. If it was something for like Pictionary, you want to be quick. Got to go get it out there quickly.
I'd rather
So,
play a Pictionary with you than you would rather play with me. You'd have to use a lot of your psychic skills to guess what it is I was trying to draw.
Yeah, fair enough. I love it. I love it.
Kerry Farmer, who's sporting a lovely picture of Her Majesty as her profile picture tonight, says, "Do they tell you what to draw, or do they guide your hand to draw?"
A bit of both. So sometimes, as I say, I'm seeing images, but they're guiding me. I have to really stay tuned into them and what they're telling me. So yeah, I usually a lot of the time I'll start with my less dominant, and I'll start and then I'll move over when I know that I'm really connecting to that in a kind of pure way. I'm not, other thoughts aren't coming in. No, you got to make it look like this. It's like, no, what are they wanting to show me?
So,
but usually it's like,
use that word automatic then, based on what you said. Is it almost automatic? You just pick up the pencil and you're automatically drawing.
Yeah, from beginning to start, it's like I'm drawing. I'm connecting to my spirit guides, and it's channeling through me. So yeah, absolutely. They're telling me from the start.
If we were doing Pictionary, you'd be having to have a think about it, and then you'd have to think sort of what you're doing. Okay, that was a really good explanation. I'm learning lots about this. I've always said that actually, if I got the right gifted guide, it doesn't matter that I can't draw. They wouldn't have to rely on me as a medium. I could go into trance and they could just draw it out for me. But I do think that again, we're like a palette of paint as a medium, aren't we? They use what's already there quite easy. And I think that in order for them to sort of take over requires more energy, because in theory, things like foreign languages, in theory, I don't need to speak any other foreign languages. And when I've given messages to people online whose English is, say, a second language, the communicator has just inspired me in English to make it easier for me to communicate. But I've always thought, when I've worked abroad, actually, if I get the point of surrender to a point, that actually the communicator is like almost like direct voice, then actually they're not going to use me at all. They're going to just be communicating using the personality that they have. So is it fair to say that to a certain extent, because you are a gifted artist as well, that they've got a much cleaner palette than they've got with someone like me? They can utilize that skills you have of holding the pencil and how to hold it, not too hard, not too light, and then they can influence you.
Yeah, absolutely. When I'm working with it, but even though I've been an artist, I did ceramics degree many moons ago. I did, I painted, I sold paintings and stuff like that. Even though I was this technique, it's taken me to get to where I am now and ready to work with people. It's taken me at least 2.5 years.
Practice.
Absolutely. So you're saying like, how am I progressing? It's like I've been working on this for a while. It hasn't just come, like you said, it just suddenly comes. So yeah,
I think for me it's fascinating. I've got dyslexia and I find it really difficult to read and present at the same time. Interesting, because there's so many strengths associated with dyslexia, isn't there, as well? And Richard Branson's done quite a lot about dyslexic thinking. But I, to a certain extent, when I'm delivering my philosophy, I'm almost channeling my guidance, because I'm not reading from a script. And although I have a sort of belief at a foundation level, I don't know what I'm about to say until almost I said it. And I often mention a guy called Ralph A. Steadman. I always say A. Steadman because there was a famous cartoonist called Ralph Steadman. And when Ralph was alive, he always wanted to make sure that he didn't confuse him with a famous artist. But Ralph, when he passed, chaired what I now refer to as my executive committee of guides, where he kind of gets all of the opinions of the different guides I'm working with, and he comes on board. He likes these shows as much as I do. I mean, he passed in his late 80s, where he was still determined to spend another 30 years going out and talking to people and doing exactly what it is we're sort of doing now. So the sort of point I was going to get to is, people have said to me, Ash, I'm an automatic writer, but there's no way I could talk on live TV or live sort of YouTube. So it was that sort of point of saying with you, they found someone that's got this great potential and talent as an artist. And then as you continue to develop that, they've already got that sort of foundation skill. So they go to us where we've got these sort of almost like human being strengths as well. And then they can continue to develop and inspire us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I am also dyslexic, and writing is not. And Neil, my partner, talks about. He goes, but all the message with stuff, because I'm working on a mindful colouring book where you'd have one of my pictures to colour in and then the message next to it. So I'm working on that at the moment. So he's seeing he's seeing what I've written. He's like, you're not dyslexic, you're just flowing. So exactly like you with it, how it just, you're channeling and it's just allowing and letting it, trusting enough to let that come through. It's really magic.
I think it's the third or fourth time you and I've mentioned the word trust and how important it is. I've also mentioned about surrender. Stop trying to be me all of the time and interrupt and interpret everything, but trusting enough to go with the flow, to sort of surrender ourselves to that will and just sort of go with it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Sorry, I've shut the door
Nadia,
because I was getting attacked by moths. So I was shut the door.
You're out in the countryside tonight, yeah.
Yeah, I'm out in the country. I had the door open,
But Nadia was saying she likes all the drawings, Helen.
Oh,
she was giving us some feedback there. If you've got any, go on, Helen. Sorry.
No, I'm just saying, if anyone wants to get in contact, oh my God, he's going mad. This moth is wanting to communicate. If anyone wants to talk, and I can work with people and we can do this technique together, I can sort of guide you, and something that you could do and have a journal and work with each day, it can really support you.
I'm going to have to connect you with my cousin Sophie that was on the show.
Yeah, I'd love to meet her. Yeah.
She's just sort of started on this journey, and I think she's got a lot of raw potential. She's very talented, but she needs some help now. She needs some other people that sort of understand this more to sort of continue to tell her. Sue says you're very talented. Sue McCarthy, joining us on Facebook tonight as well. And folks, if you've got any more questions, do get them in. Otherwise, what we were going to do is now experiment with a couple of readings. So Spirit of Love has come in with one last question there before we do the first reading. And folks, with the readings, we're going to do a couple of psychic readings. If you want a card, let me know you want a card, and we'll let the algorithms of Facebook and YouTube sort of bring your name up, and then we'll see if Helen is inspired to share anything with us. But Spirit of Love says, so your dominant hand starts with your channeling, then your right hand is automatic.
It's interesting. I think what happens is the less dominant my dominant is my right, the less dominant is a great way of bringing in that trust and knowing that it's a clear, and also because spirit comes in on the left, so I find that is my way to then connect in. It's a bit like when you go boom, okay, I'm in. Well, you do a meditation and you're sort of connecting to sort of breathing up to the sky, down to the earth, and having that connection. So I think that's why they want to meet. And actually, the more I do it, they even start with the right. But I do very little, but it does start with the left a lot of the time, which is my less dominant.
Almost like your regime, your routine for opening up. You go through those.
Exactly.
In the same way a medium has their way of opening a flower or coming out to the light.
Exactly.
Your little flick of the switch. Lights on, spirit, you can come and work with us.
Yeah. Very similar.
Good. So we will do some mediumship over the 15 minutes as well, and I'll give you some evidence, hopefully, of a communicator, folks, that someone will understand with. But if you would like either me to give you draw a card for you and give you a quick psychic reading on that, if you want to give me free colours or any free numbers, as soon as they pop up on the screen, I'm just going to go straight into that. So Ellie Sunshine says, anything for me. It's a cheeky little grin on your profile picture we've got there, Ellie Sunshine. The card I just drew for you is the Voyage and the Voyage. And I see you, Ellie, being the captain of your destiny and the architect of those next couple of steps. And I want to say that the design is really important for you right now, Ellie, because I want to empower you. I feel that you've had your hands tied together and you've been unable to do that. You've been unable to steer your ship in the direction you've wanted to go, almost like you've been a passenger and you've gone along with it. But you see the opportunity, you know where you want to go. I've got you on this boat and I've got you plotting this voyage. You've got a map, you've got a compass out, and you are looking ahead. There's some long distance planning, and you know when you're going to get to your final destination. Along the way, there's all these different experiences that you want to achieve, and I want to be able to say that it's coming your way. So this is a psychic reading. It's come off the base of drawing a card. I don't have a spiritual communicator with you right now, but as my guides sort of coming in with me and linking in with you and your guides, they say, yeah, she's in charge. She's in charge, and it's important that it's safe. You can get on that boat, go for it. Sometimes taking risk for fun and that sense of adventure is going to be okay because you know where you're going. So Ellie, if you're able to give us any feedback by way of verification, please do. But I'm going to pause now just to see if Helen was doodling or scribbling while we were chatting as well.
Yeah, interesting. So very quick, because you're so you're saying how long does it take? Very quick when I have to be quick. So here we've got this. Can you see that? Okay, is that good?
Yep.
I was just getting this sort of mountain and this path and this journey. Interesting, you were talking about sort of voyage. They've showed here like almost like you're on this mountain, and I got the stone person, the carving down here, this sort of quite important. It feels like very grounding in the stone, sort of, and then this kind of mountain going up into this light at the top. So yeah, it's like, do it, just go. You've got that support, you've got that sort of, what are you carving in your life? Definitely is coming in here as well.
Lovely,
really beautiful.
And, you did that incredibly quick. You'd definitely be good at Pictionary and quick draw, I think. And yeah. Nice that it had some similarities there. You didn't know what card I was about to draw. You started drawing automatically. Sort of anyway. So yeah, Ellie Sunshine, if you can give us some feedback later, that would be good, just to make sure that
she's just said that. She said
I can definitely relate with all of that.
Yeah,
fantastic. Brilliant. Thank you. Would you say that, Richard? Teach me to look at the Facebook comments. Yeah, I told you I'm not a strong multitasker. Thank goodness we have a decent producer that's keeping me intact. And she says, "Thank you both." Thank you, Ellie. You're very welcome.
Go well.
Okay. I will do another reading. Richard, if anyone's come in with any numbers or colours, 37 and a love heart. Claire, I'm going to give you something just off the back of the numbers at a psychic level. So 3 is quite important to me with my 3 boys, and I want to separate the 3 and the 7 around that love. And I've got the 3 beings. I've got the importance of 3 in the family. So there are you and 2 others in particular, and I've got a male and a female energy with you in the middle, almost like younger boy and a younger girl. I don't know if these are your children or not, but it's part of this wider family group. So I've got unconditional love. I know you've put a heart at the front there, and I've also got a sense of luck. I know you're wearing green in that photograph, but I was seeing green in my mind's eye. I was seeing the luck of the Irish, and I was seeing green, all sorts of almost stereotypical green there. It was like the luck of the Irish. There was this lucky leprechaun that was coming as well, and this clover that was there. And the number 7 for me is always a number that I associate with luck. It's one of my favorite numbers. It's the number that I often go for. It's that sort of happy medium. Out of 10, it's not 10 out of 10, but it's a strong, satisfied 7. And I want to sense this sense of your love with some luck. I want to talk about the fact that perhaps there has been some lost love and less luck, but as we approach this sense of stability, I feel like I'm surrounding you with luck. I've got this lucky penny coming away. I've got the luck of the Irish. I've got this unconditional love, which opens you up like this lantern. The young boy and the young girl, so I've got the energy of that making the 3, but certainly the importance of 3. And I also had siblings, had this link of siblings with you, Claire. My mediumship guide is a guy called Bob Brunton, was just talking about a sibling in the spirit world. You'd be aware of a child who never walked on earth, and he was just saying to me, yes, okay, thank you, Claire, I've got a woman that was also claiming to be your grandmother on your dad's side, and just as she was coming in, she was talking about your mother having a failed pregnancy, a miscarriage, and you would have had a sibling and that you'd be aware of in the spirit world that's giving it some luck. Claire's saying absolutely true. Thank you very much for that feedback. Helen, was there anything you were picking up as we were chatting?
really like strong what came through. Can you see that?
Yep.
Can you see it all?
Yeah, character, grappling with
He's like
nature.
holding, can you see, like holding this like baton of like really powerful, it felt like great responsibility that you're holding, and not to be taken lightly, and real determination is like, use that right now in your life. Really powerful figure. He's like you're passing that on, all that wisdom and good energy and stories, like pass them on.
Amazing.
Damn.
It's incredible
go.
what you can generate in 30, 40 seconds. I'm,
There you go.
and I believe we are working with the communicator as well as that sort of psychic energy. And for those that that don't know the difference between psychic and sort of spiritualist or mediumship, I've always thought that when I bring forward evidence of your communicator, and I'm giving you evidence of someone's life after death, that for me is mediumship, and that is in that traditional sense. At more of a psychic level, we're perhaps working with almost like an energy exchange, your auras, your colours, your sort of fields. But often with that psychic link, and Claire was just saying, well, it's amazing. Thank you, Helen Ash. Much love to you both. You're very welcome,
Sure.
Claire. And
Yeah.
certainly love that way. That psychic level, for me, is a stepping stone. I don't know, Helen, if you're always aware of the difference when you're working sort of more psychic or as a medium, but I find the psychic can be more draining of me physically. Actually, it uses more of my own energy to understand the message. But with the mediumship, I then become more aware of the vivid difference in my mind's eye.
Yeah, I feel that. It's really interesting because I'm a bit like, oh, can I do this? Can I do this really quickly? And they're like, yeah, we'll just do it in a different way. It's like they just come through. It works for whatever you need to do. It's amazing.
Absolutely great. Right,
Yeah.
let's do a couple of other quick ones then. So it's like quick fire today. So Kim says pink 5. And just as you were saying, that the color, the pink, for me, I love pink. Pink is for me a fluffy color, and it's a sense of a sense of protection, a sense of foundation. I always see pink as a feminine sort of color, because when I am asking my communicators to come through, I go for pink and blue. I mean, it's 2022. We've got all sorts of non-binary and trans, everything else in between now. So colours don't always work, but pink for me is that feminine energy. The pink 5. I feel like the 5 I want to dance with you. I've got Mambo number 5, and I've also got a countdown because I had Thunderbirds. You got 5, 4, 3, 2. Thunderbirds are go, and I've got this explosion. I've got this start. I've got this sense of adventure with you, and I've got this level of protection, Kim Diaz, that I want to give you. I feel like I've got the end of a chapter for you and the start of something new. And rather than a new chapter, I think I'm into a new book, because I've got a rocket ship. You're taking off. We're building up for this countdown, but we're surrounding you with protection. We're also empowering you at your level, and it's almost strange. It's almost like your female energy, your feminine energy, your feminine side becoming very dominant, and that feminine energy, that sense of adventure pushing you forward. So yeah, pink 5. That was my interpretation there. End of a chapter, the closure, almost like the finish of something, the start of something new, but surrounding you with this beautiful pink cloak. But I'm protecting you. You're well protected, pink and fluffy, and we are ready for this. We've got liftoff approaching. Hopefully that made some sense to you, Kim. Helen, did you pick up anything while we were chatting to Kim?
This is what's come through. Can you see? Just one, and it felt like it was, when I started, it was like, no, stop, just pause, just breathe. And when that happens, when I do it with people, I know that that's the message. It's like, stop. Okay, let's just breathe for a moment. It's like dream a bit. They're talking about dreaming. Like dream and like write down your dreams. Like see what's going to come from that. Like what fruits from that. But let that guide you a bit. So connecting to that.
Lovely. So Kim, hopefully that all made sense to you. I'm sure it did. But beautiful drawing and interpretation, Helen. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just going to do, rather than take another site message, I've got a communicator coming in. This communicator describes himself as a man, and this man is a grandfather. He was your mother's dad, is what it said. I was mother's dad. I am granddad on mum's side of the family. I have passed with heart failure. He's taking me over towards the left-hand side of his body. He's talking about heart failure. He's talking about a dodgy ticker. It was just a dodgy ticker. I had life-limiting heart condition, which limited my life to a certain extent. And then he was like, boom, I just went. After limiting me for a little while, he is telling me that, boom, I went fast, I went quick, it was aggressive. I think I was sat in my chair about to debate about going to bed. And I want to say that I was okay. Thank you. I survived my wife. My wife had actually gone to heaven before me. That's what he's saying to me. So grandmother, also in the spirit world, and she suddenly was like, "Actually, not going to bed. You're coming with me." It's okay. So this is granddad. Nan would also be in the spirit world. Granddad is passed with a heart-related condition, and he's on dad's. No, his mum's, isn't it? He's correcting me. Mum's side of the family. Okay. So someone understand this, gentlemen. Sue.
Shall I show you what I got through?
Yeah, show me what you got. I just heard Sue. Curly Sue.
Curly Sue.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
I got an apple straight away.
Okay.
I got this apple come through, and then there's like a phoenix bird.
Oh, lovely.
Like rising up. That's okay.
Christine Davis says could be them. David, I don't think this is your grandfather. Christy said no, I don't know her. Tony Wright, granddad died of heart attack. Anyone that would be coming in now, I'd want you to say yes to everything, including the drawing. I feel like the Sue's important. He is connecting with this Sue, Curly Sue. My Curly Sue is singing out of tune, very much like me. You would understand the Sue, you'd understand this apple and the phoenix. That's you, isn't it? I think, Helen, that's them rising from the flames, starting after. Yeah. The apple is the apple about falling far from the tree. So I'm just picking up something about the tree, about not falling too far from the tree.
It's interesting that it showed it in half, like it's a cross section of it, like the seeds, like that's important, like what it's holding inside, what is growing. And then the phoenix sort of protecting. So it's quite like that.
Okay. Terry Napier saying, my dad died of heart attack. We watched Curly Sue together. Okay. I think that makes sense. Terry. My Terry. Okay. You would understand that. Carol saying, could be my granddad's mum. That'd be a great grandmother. Mum and gran passed before him. He was on a chair in a heart attack. Curly Sue, my auntie, his daughter that passed months ago. Carol. My Carol. Okay, Carol McDowell. So Carol McDowell, who's granddad, and the apple he always gave us as an apple when we were younger. Okay, Carol, one with you. Just correcting me. He had false teeth, Carol. I feel like he's giving me his teeth. She could be my granddad's mum and gran passed before me. I think I am with you, McDowell. I don't know if I know you've got the muck there, and it'd be easy to say Scotland, but he had a bit more of a northern accent. I'm a South London boy, and he was just talking about being further north of that. But I've got this. Okay, he's calling himself an old English gentleman, but I was also seeing links to maybe Scotland there. Carol McDowell. Keeps correcting my. Is he right? I was going to say, he's inside my mouth. I feel like he's giving me this sensation with the teeth. So, Carol, that reading was for you. I think we've got time for one more quick one before we finish. But, Helen, I've got to say, I'm absolutely loving working with you.
Me too. I'm really
like
enjoying
the energy. If you are enjoying this double demonstration of mediumship and channel art, folks, let us know. Let Richard know. Comment on the SPTV fan page. Head over there afterwards. Write a petition to Richard and say we want Helen and Ash to come back and do a double demonstration of mediumship. If you've not enjoyed it, tell me.
Sorry, the last.
Someone wants to see the picture.
The last one.
There you go, Carol.
What we can do is I'll photograph them all as well, and I'll send them to Richard and Ashley.
Lovely. Thank you. Literally, the next name that comes up that wanted a reading is either going to get a psychic reading or maybe a mediumship link. Yep. One of let's try and get one of our people come through, and you'll take care of that bit, Richard. Yep. Yep. Okay, so I'll do. As it's the last one of the night, I'm going to do it to one of the VIPs. You mentioned if you're a VIP and you are financially supporting SPTV, I think from as little as a pound a month, folks. Thanks for doing that. Carol was just saying she understands that. You put on an English accent to wind up Mum as she stayed in England. Thank you. Oh, that's lovely feedback, Carol. Thank you very much for that. It's appreciated. Yeah, let's have one of the VIPs stick their hand up for a reading, and we'll do the last one. Claire saying she loves the show. The energy is great. Thank you, Claire. God bless you.
Thank you.
And Richard, if you see one of the VIPs raise their hand up, just put their name up, and I'm going to come in with a quick link. Okay. Busy. What did you say? Lizzie. I was just going to say busy Lizzie. Busy Lizzie Ryan, VIP and the purple love. Fortune, fame and fortune, I wanted to say. There has been a debate with you, Izzy, and I'm talking about health before wealth, fame before fame and fortune, chasing the dream. You've been going big in pursuit of something, Izzy Ryan. Telling me it's predominantly my guide Bob at the moment that's talking about this and giving me this sort of link with that fortune and friendship being so important to you counting your wealth with your friends. And in particular, there's been a lady slightly older than you. This lady has been an absolute diamond. Okay, and Bob was just introducing me to a man claiming to be family. This man is communicating. He's telling me he is granddad, he is mum's dad. You'd understand mum, dad, also in the spirit world. He's talking about an infectious disease of some sort that he's had, caught it, and something that's affected my lungs and my breathing as well. And he was coming through, he was talking about her being an absolute diamond, Izzy. Okay, with granddad, I had links with certainly I've got him in London. I've got him doing some professional working in London at some point. But okay, thank you. And Bob was just introducing that bit again on that sort of psychic level about the fortune. I've got you winding staircase, rising forwards, upwards, rising, Izzy, and you are going towards it. Now, this staircase, you're looking up, it feels like it is forever going. You're looking up, keep going, onwards, forwards, upwards, rising. At the top of the staircase is a chest. Inside the chest, you will find a key. Use that key to open a locker. Inside the locker, you will find a map. The map, no, I'm joking. You don't have to dive into any swimming pools. The chest is at the top of the stairs. The man that was coming through, he's a real wind-up merchant. He was like, he was talking about the secret services. He was talking about like Spy, James Bond. He was showing me visions of Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible. You're just giving confirmation about passing the death, the COPD on the lungs and the breathing. Thank you for confirming that, Izzy. He's saying, just keep going, girl. Keep going, girl. Wind and rise, wind and rise. You will find the chest. Now, the chest is not necessarily fame and fortune, but it is your fortune because you are counting the things that matter. Okay, and he was a millionaire in terms of the family that were around him. That young lady he is describing, who's an older lady to you, is an absolute diamond. She has been there. Izzy says she's trying to develop spirituality. It's a long journey. Keep on going, Izzy. He sends you his love, and I can see Helen furiously scribbling away as well. What we need is what we could do with like the countdown music, Helen. We could have like that clock every 60 seconds. And you've got 60 seconds to deliver your...
Too late.
Yeah. Izzy,
honestly, I've never done it so fast.
Let's see what Helen has got.
Yeah.
Put a lot of pressure on her, ruining her pencils.
I'm getting through my pen. It's starting to run out, definitely. Interesting.
Lovely.
So I definitely got these sort of platforms. Like at the moment, you're connecting different parts of your life, connecting together, and that's important. It's like it's all been a bit floaty, and it's now time to really connect them. And then at the top, a bit like you're saying, Ashley, there it is at the top. I think up here, you got this, the light, what you're waiting for and searching for, and your intention to bring that through to the world. This guy here, it's like he's speaking it, he's like singing it, he's like the sound, the vibration, Really important how you do that to connect everything together. So that's it.
That's lovely. Yeah. And I think based on how fast you were producing these wonderful drawings as well, and the fact that it sort of links in with the message, and I know that women are much better multitaskers than men, but yeah, you're not listening to me. You are beautifully channeling the communicators and the energy of the guides, and you're getting some lovely stuff. Izzy was just saying family and friends are everything too. Yeah, great. And she's confirming around the spiritual journey. So wonderful message, Helen. And Izzy, that was hopefully a nice message to finish with. Folks, we've come towards, we've come at the end of the show. It's actually, we're 5 minutes over. And Richard has given us a little bit more time. It has been wonderful working with you tonight. If you've enjoyed it, show us some love on Facebook. Give us your thumbs up. Give us your hearts. And comment on the feed. If you've particularly enjoyed an aspect of the show, the philosophy, let us know what you enjoyed and why you enjoyed it. Head over to the SPTV fan page, perhaps start a new subject, talk about any of the readings you got tonight. And if you've enjoyed the mediumship, the channeled mediumship art with Helen and I, and you either want to see either one of us all back together, Helen or own, or me and Helen working together, let Richard know through SPTV fan page or the SPTV website. Helen, any final words or comments? Hopefully you've enjoyed the show tonight.
It's been wonderful. It's been mind-blowing. I've really enjoyed it. And again, I'm sort of pushing myself out the comfort zone and just going, yes. And it's really been such a gift because of that. Thank you. It's been really fun. I hope we get to do it again, Ashley. It was really fun working with you.
We must do it again. I've really enjoyed it, and I've loved the collective consciousness. If you enjoy the concept of collective consciousness, head over to Bill Hughes' Thursday night show. He brings in a different medium every week to do that. You've seen the adverts about everything else that's going on. Some of you perhaps will come and watch the broadcasted naming service of my son Oscar Thomas Robinson on Sunday morning. Thanks for all the love that's coming in and the feedback. People enjoying their messages. Mary Dixie said it's been a great evening. My dad just sent me a text and said you've done a really good job, Helen. He's really enjoyed the show tonight as well. Good. Kelly McKeaton, thank you for a fantastic night as always. Big love to you too, Kelly McKeaton. Beautiful night. Thank you so much from Joanne Lewis. We're going to finish on that very comment, folks, but I will check them out, and I want to send you all some love, some light, and some laughter. As I said, we've got enough misery in the world. Keep on forwards and keep on pressing forwards. God bless to you all. Thank you for our producer Richard for your time and energy tonight. Good night.
See you. Bye bye.